Hey there, you comic readers. Today we will be looking at a review of the Berserk Deluxe Edition Volume 1 written and drawn by Kentaro Miura. Berserk is the god of seinen manga, which is the manga for adults, and it is my second favorite manga of all time, losing to One Piece. Most people agree that this is the best manga of all time, and this is the deluxe edition, which is released by Dark Horse Company. Dark Horse does the best publishing editions, and their library editions are great. I would show them to you in another video. And this is the deluxe edition of Berserk. Normally manga are not published in this much size, but Dark Horse has gone and done so, which really accentuates the heart. And this has many great art, as I will show slightly later. And here is the Japanese canto for Berserk, the deluxe edition. Berserk is really influenced by the European Knights and Swords and Dragon's Tale, but it has some Japanese manga tropes like this sound effects, and this is the beginning, hyper violent beginning of Berserk. That's why we do not give this to read to kids. And here is Puck. And Berserk is the story of this guy here, Guts, who is a swordsman. At this point of the story, this is volume 1, which collects the 3 original volumes of the Berserk manga. We do not know who he is yet, only the fact that he carries a very large sword and that he is very efficient in using it. And then he is accompanied by this little elf named Puck, and they go on different missions to kill all the apostles, as you have seen here in the first page. This is an apostle, which is like a demon in this Berserk world. And as to why we do this, it is not known, and for you readers at this point, but I have read it all and I know. And this first volume is not the most best of the Berserk. The story is like typical seinen with a really grimy and tortured hero going on badass rampages. There are only some elements which would make Berserk great. It really shines in the Golden Age arc, which begins in the second of these volumes, this big volume. This is the Black Swordsman Arc, which is the sort of prequel to the entire story. And as you can see here, the art by Kentaro Miura is so great that it is only published once in a month, unlike other mangas which are published weekly. It is so hyper detailed, and it only gets better as you progress through the volumes. Here it is still in its infancy, but it's so awesome, damn awesome, than most of the other manga working. And here is another apostle. You will see the snake guy. This volume is typical seinen. Yeah, this is apostle. And who are these apostles and why is he hunting them down? That gives one of the greatest backstories in ever, like in the world's history. The Golden Age arc, if you type it in internet, you can see that it's the greatest manga arc of all time, and they are not bluffing. It really is. And as for the paper quality, it's not as thin as the other mangas, which is like newspaper print, but it is not as thick as comics either, but it is a good way. But one serious complaint that I have with this volume is that they have decolored the color pages which are originally present in the publication. None of the tankopons had this, and when the deluxe edition was announced, many of us readers hoped that the color pages would be restored to the original glory, but no, they have been not, and they are still in black, which lends this awkward looking shade to the pages. Then they go on adventures and adventures. And yes, see this dream sequence. This is our first beginning, and this scar on his neck, which is the same as this pattern on this book. and that's when we begin to learn about this greater story behind hand and this stuff. Okay, I'm not saying what it is, but let you read on to find out. Yeah, here is one of the Count, one of the main villains of this first Black Swordsman story arc. Actually, I think I shall skip some of these pages as well as not to give you. Is there the Behelicans? Oh yes, that's the first glimpse of the God Hand, whom Guts has a personal history with, and he's hunting. I'm not. It's hard to spoil such a good story anyway. And as you can see, it is another apostle. The artwork really shines in this oversized format rather than the smaller tankobon format. Typical seinen action. Notes on its sound effects. So that's you see the shading, and this is why I love Kentaro Miura's art. And all these grotesque horror images. I mean, it gets worse and worse. The monsters get more horrific and horrific as you progress. And I want to show that's one awesome pin-up image. I don't want to spoil too much. There are some pretty explicit scenes, and there is our main villain, Griffith. Okay, and this is the God Hand which was already mentioned. This is Griffith, and why he does hate? Why does Guts hate Griffith? And what happened is what I told you, the greatest backstory there ever is, and you had to read on to find out because it's something more than the level of a Shakespearean tragedy. And he's also one of the greatest villains to ever grace. And as I told you, this was just no, I'm not showing any of that. See, the artwork gets progressively better, I told you so. And this is the end of the Teresa marching up, and this is the end of the Black Swordsman arc. He does great, and this is the beginning of the backstory. This is a Golden Age arc. It's only this much length covered in this volume, but the rest of the volume 2, which I would review shortly. And we see Guts' origin, which is about as bad as it can get, but I assure you it's nothing compared to the rest of the story. I'm not spoiling anything since this is the major part of the story which you won't want to spoil. And here we reach that. I'm not showing the last page because it's a spoiler. This is the cover for the tankobon, which is the smaller volume 1, and this is the cover for volume 2, and this is the cover for volume 3. Glad they decided to keep this rather than blacken this thing like the Attack on Titan Colossal Edition, which I hated, man, that I hate. And here is a small bio on Kentaro Miura. And also, what other works of his that you can get of Berserk. Here is again Berserk, and this black and paper. And as this was wrapped in a plastic shrink wrap, we had this short bio. I'm glad this was not printed on the back of the book, since it would have ruined the entire experience. And as you can see, it's not leather, it is something like, what can I say, something like the material of the cork, the rubber cork which is used for wines, and looks great and feels with the old feel tone of the story. Here is the explanation, the best manga ever. Here I am not overrating it, it's really one of the best mangas, even though One Piece is my personal favorite. And it cost somewhat great because it's a deluxe edition, that's right. And there is a parental advisory sticker. Here is Kentaro Miura's name written in kanji. And so that's all I have to say about Berserk Deluxe Edition. It's surely one of the greatest mangas of all time. And go pick it up if you know what. If you are not yet 18 and are watching this video, ask your parents to buy this thing for your 18th birthday. That would be great gift. I am joking anyway, but seriously, if you are a manga reader and want to go to more non-shonen type of deeper mangas, you can't go wrong with Berserk. And that's all I had to say. Thank you, and until I see you next week, this me, the comic reader, signing off. Bye bye.